I remember making a video that said that I fear the death of the physical album. This is a little bit different. It's not that I fear the death of physical media in general. I feel instead, actually, that, well, maybe it's being abandoned. It's not just being killed based around the fact that it's not being consumed, it's not being purchased, but rather, I feel that this is just a media that right now is being abandoned by the very corporations, the very companies, the labels, the movie studios that actually brought it to prominence whenever these different formats were being revolutionized. Think about your history. Think of how we originally listened to music on, vinyl, on records. And then eventually we got the cassette tapes and 8-tracks, things of that variety. And then we eventually have moved to CDs. Think about how you viewed movies. You viewed them on VHS cassette tape or a Betamax, or before a DVD, maybe you sampled around with some laser discs, and now it's all about Blu-ray and 3D Blu-ray. Well, I'm fearing the death of all of this. Well, actually, no, I'm not. I'm fearing the abandonment of this, rather, because it seems like these very companies, these very individuals that push these ideas, that really try to push the envelope, are actually all aiming for a digital revolution. And this is something that's not being aided, it's not exactly being helped. In fact, it's being supported by these major corporations, but it's not being helped by those that are offering free streaming services that literally pay out the wazoo to these companies to allow their films, their music, and things like that in order to be available to an end user so long as they sign up for their subscription service. Now, what do I mean by this necessarily? Well, I'll tell you a story in order to really illuminate the point. I was working the other day and somebody brought in some used products, some DVDs and things like that, and they had a wealth of them. They had quite a bit, which is something that I don't necessarily encourage, but if you have it and you're looking to get rid of it, it's whatever. They told me while I was scanning their product and figuring out how much each was going to be worth to get them a quote, they mentioned that through one of the, television providers, it's actually, I think, a satellite provider, I'm not exactly sure, but Comcast, if you know the name, they now offer a streaming service that's available for on-demand that has over 17,000 different films on it. At least that's the quote that they gave me. You can confirm or deny whether or not that's accurate. And this is what kind of got everything creeping into my head. And then the whole thing with YouTube happened, where it seemed over this past weekend, it was being said that YouTube was abandoning a lot of independent artists because they want, big name labels in order to, sign on to a streaming service that Google's going to be offering in order to keep them on YouTube, and all of the independents and the ones that are doing the covers and things are going to be given the shaft. Now, once again, these are ideas where the details are a little bit fishy, and to my knowledge, I haven't seen anything really change, but it really has gotten me thinking. It's gotten me realizing that it's becoming harder and harder to DIY, but for those of you that do, you really have to work a little bit harder in order to get your name out there, whereas just a couple of years ago, with YouTube and different services available for your work to get out there, it seemed a lot easier. So, what gives? What's going on here? Maybe you guys have some great ideas, but I have one as well. I feel as though this abandonment process is one that's going to be a novelty. It's going to be one that's kind of a flash in the pan. It's going to resemble a lot like Betamax tapes or laser discs, as I mentioned earlier. Either that or any other format that had a trial run and perhaps had an initial surge of popularity and then quickly fell by the wayside. There are just so many different disadvantages to digital media. However, the one advantage that seems to be the keynote to American culture in general is the convenience factor. It's now the fact that you can have your music, your movies, whatever that you want, every single place that you go. Whether it's being at home and just consuming it, on your television screen or in a stereo system or on an iPod, it's also now one that's available on tablets or iPhones or different mobile devices where literally you can take everything that you have with you and essentially not participate in the social norm and the social protocol. Instead, you can just, bury yourself in the media and not have to actually have a conversation with somebody. Yeah, you could tell I'm a little bit saucy about this, but I'm going to try to be as fair and impartial as possible. I feel this is going to be just a flash in the pan, a short-lived fad, a short-lived phenomenon, because there is a bit of a denigration gap that happens whenever all of these media files and different media is compressed. Now, this is something that whenever you get digital copies through, getting big DVD packages or Blu-ray packages, you're still getting high quality, but especially with music, unless you get a high quality download of it from a site such as iTunes, either that or, your trusted provider, still the purest sound that you're going to get is going to be through the CD. And really, another thing that could potentially happen from this is the rise of some of the formats of old. We've already seen a vinyl revolution occur. This is something where more and more people are aiming to purchase and own record players and get a lot of their favorite albums from the past 20 years on vinyl. Plus, Jack White's new album just experienced the highest single-week vinyl sales that we've seen ever since Pearl Jam's, I think it was Vitology. It's something where 42,000 doesn't exactly seem like a large number, but whenever you put it up against the total wealth of sales, it was nearly 33% of his sales. I mean, yeah, it was an ultra, LP that has, all sorts of hidden gems part of it, so the gimmicking was definitely a part of that as well. But at the same time, Jack White, come on. Congratulations to him. But also, I feel as though this is something where it's going to be short-lived because it's just going to kind of wear itself thin. We definitely seem to be a culture right now that doesn't have the appreciation for the things that we have. Instead, we definitely just want convenience, and whenever the convenience idea kind of fades away, whenever the technology tends to become a little bit too unruly or too unreliable, it's going to be something where going back to those source tapes, going back to those physical copies will really seem to be very important. And if that's something that fades away, then it's not going to be an option that we have. I mean, think about it. Whenever you play a CD on a large-scale, stereo system that's plugged into the wall, you never have to worry about your batteries going dead. You never have to worry about, everything just dying on you. Either that, or you don't have to worry about corruption based around, different updates that have to occur. You never have to feel as though you're being inconvenienced, if that's really what this is all about, based around the fact that all that stereo system is really designed to do is play your music. It's not designed to have every other app known to man, and it doesn't necessarily also have to have some sort of operating system available to it that needs updating every so often. Now, obviously, you can fuck around with these things and make it happen while you're sleeping, or, have it happen while you're at work. That way you don't have to worry about it, but that's not something that a lot of people take the time to do. That's why I think that this is going to be something that's not going to last very long. I feel that the physical media is always going to have a little bit of a purpose. It's still going to be something, I think, for a long time where it's just a niche market, and it's really going to take a redesign in order for this to really change. And really digital is going to be something that's going to be leading the way for quite some time, and that's something that I really hate to admit, but hey, sometimes you have to just stare the tiger in the eyes and just recognize the fact that the tiger wants to eat you. But it is something where I feel that there's still going to be that need for that physical, hard source copy. It's something that's always going to be out there. But it's kind of hard to imagine all of this whenever it feels like all of these different places and all of these different providers are all trying to, embrace this digital revolution. They're all really trying to go with this and kind of push the physical medium and the physical source right out of the way. Something that makes extinction seem almost like an imminent guarantee. So, I don't know. What do you do? How do you combat something like this? Is this something where we try to go underground with this and, trade it almost like trading books in Fahrenheit 451, where you're scared to mention the fact that you have it because if you do, they're just going to stomp them and then pour gasoline on them and burn them and then maybe look at you and consider shooting you in the face for having them? I think that's a little bit of an extreme case scenario, and, well, I kind of apologize for the 1984-esque, society that I just painted there. But at the same time, I mean, what do you think? Where do we really go from here? Where does the physical media go from here? Where does music and movies and film and all of this go from here? Whenever you think about it, film really doesn't have to worry about it, considering they're still getting screenings. So the physical copy, that's just an added bonus. But what about music? Is it now going to all be performing your new album live and then having it available in a digital media, a digital form, for people to, buy and consume? Give me your thoughts.